Good evening, Unity on the Bay, and happy Monday to all of you. Really grateful to have your presence here, and thanks for participating in another exciting episode of Shelf Discovery. This is an interactive program, so please let me know that you're here by posting something, just a little greeting in the chat, and then keep on posting because I'm really interested to know your perspectives, your thoughts, your reactions to the material that we cover as I do every week. Love to hear where you're coming from with it. This is our first Monday evening in March. I'm not sure how that happened. Time is passing quickly. But here we are in the month of March. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Pam. Hi, Cindy. Really grateful that you're all here. It's wonderful to share this time with you. So we are in the month of March, and we're launching into our annual March Meditation Madness program, which means that because you're here, you will have at some point during our time together access to one of the mantra words that we're inviting you to collect as we move through the month of March, because it makes you eligible for some really great prizes, really nice prizes this year in March Meditation Madness. And so you listen up tonight. You're going to get a mantra word to add to your collection. And when you hear it, be sure and jot it down so that you can register it. I know the word. I knew the word earlier today and completely forgot it just before I came onto this broadcast. So write it down when you hear it, and I'll share it with you in a bit. Hi, Geeta. Nice to have you here. So what we're going to do in honor of March Meditation Madness, we're going to explore some ideas from 4 different authors. Tonight, we're dealing with a wonderful author by the name of Eric Butterworth. He was one of the most predominant Unity ministers in our movement, becoming a nationally recognized, internationally recognized author, wrote many different books that have gone far beyond the constraints of our movement and touched, helped, and healed many individuals, whether they associated particularly with Unity or not. I had the pleasure of meeting him back in the 1990s, and he was one of those fellows, though I'm sure his spirit is still with us, who you just knew. My assignment was to meet him at the airport in Kansas City, and I didn't know that much about him at the time, but I could tell who he was the minute he got off the plane, just by virtue of his aura, his consciousness, his energy, his obvious spiritual presence. So, hey, Dale, nice to have you here. Our prayers continue with you, my friend, with the passing of your beloved canine friend and family member, Snug. So just feel our energy because it's coming your way, to be sure. So tonight we're going to explore Eric Butterworth's book, In the Flow of Life. One particular chapter that I want to touch on tonight that I think is really important. And again, let me know you're here. Say hello. Those of you that have not yet sent a greeting to everybody, please do so that we know you're here. You're welcome, Dale. Much love to you. And let's get started. This is from the chapter Living Life from Within Out. It's actually the first chapter in the book, In the Flow of Life. So let's take a look at this. He says, let's examine the prevailing attitudes about this thing called life. There are 2 basic views, he says. 1, we come into the world as empty creatures who go forth in life to be filled. Empty creatures going forth into our life experience to be filled. Life for us at any time is the sum total of what has happened to us and what we have been able to accumulate in wisdom, experience, or things. The second prevailing attitude about life that he shares is We come into the world as living souls of infinite potentiality to be discovered and released, for life is lived from within out. So we have two different concepts here, okay? One of them is that we come in basically empty. We're here to be filled, and we go out into our life in a state of acquisition. We want to bring more into our experience from outside of us, as opposed to recognizing that all that is already exists within us. So as opposed to trying to bring more into us from the external experience or the outer world, we're here to recognize what already exists within us by virtue of the legacy that we've received as being children of God, to recognize that, to discover it, and then to allow it to pour forth fully and freely into our life, into our world. So one is, I come in with nothing. I'm here to acquire and accumulate in order to become something. And the other perspective is, I come in with everything that I need already within me. And my mission, if you will, is to discover that and then to allow it to pour forth through me, thereby blessing me and blessing my entire circle of influence in this life. So those are the two perspectives that he shares. He goes on then to say, the first view has been predominant through the ages. Every person has felt its conditioning to some extent, for it is the, quote, wisdom of the world, unquote. Pam believes in the second one. Awesome. Hi, Anna. Hi, everybody. So glad you're here. This is wonderful. Every person has felt its conditioning to some extent, for it's the wisdom of the world. This idea of living from without to within. Subtly, but certainly, we are trained to think of life as a getting, quote unquote, experience. Like Buddhist monks, we are given the psychological counterpoint of the little begging bowl by which to go out into the world to seek the, quote unquote, gifts of God from our parents, our schools, our religion, and our work. No matter what we hunger or desire, we invariably go begging out there for fulfillment. Paul seemed to know better. In 2 Timothy, 1st chapter, 6th verse, he writes, I remind you to rekindle the gift of God that is within you. Now, this, I think, is really interesting, and let me know what you think. It seems to me that we have gotten preoccupied with external circumstances, believing those conditions outside of us are responsible for our well-being or how much we hold within our consciousness. So again, we're coming into it empty, and as he illustrates with the idea of the begging bowl, we're moving out into the world more or less begging everybody and everything to fill us up, to make us complete. And I suspect we've all been there because we've grown up in this conditioned environment that's told us we must accumulate our worth, we must accumulate our gifts, our qualities, our skills, our talents from outside of us. And this is fundamental to receiving the benefits of a life of meditation. That's why I wanted to talk about it tonight during March Meditation Madness, is that meditation is the best tool that I'm aware of, and maybe you've discovered some other tools, for exploring this vast inner realm. And why should we explore it? Because our mission here is to discover through revelation what lies within us, and then experience the joy of moving that which we've discovered out into the world. So more than us being on the planet in order to receive so much, we're really here to discover what is already ours and then extend it out into the world. And it's difficult to do that. It's been my experience anyway. Tell me about your experience. It's been difficult to establish a really solid sense of self-worth as a child of God without having the tool of meditation for this inward exploration. And once we begin that exploration, we discover that all the riches of the kingdom of God are already ours. So we're not in this human experience to get anything. And it's not going to happen if we're continually preoccupied with external circumstances, situations, and individuals. We got to find it within ourselves, realizing that we already have it. And then we can experience the joy of simply sharing that with others. Which brings me to our, thank you, Gita, because we hear when we lower the noise of the world. Exactly. We hear and we discover, because our journey in life is no longer an external one. My good friend Jim Rosemergy actually founded his company called The Inner Journey, or just Inner Journey, because he realized that the key to fulfillment in life is to launch into this inward journey of discovery of that which is already ours. Anna says, absolutely. Throughout the years, and Unity has made me see this. Then thank God for Unity. Thank God for any teaching, my friends, that helps us to realize we do not come into this life experience to struggle in the midst of turmoil, to try to receive the love, the peace, the joy, and the praise that is ours by divine birthright, as well as the health and the wholeness, the abundance and the prosperity. They're already within us. But that's a difficult idea or concept for us to grasp, don't you think? Beings as we were born into this world where we have come to be conditioned to think that we have to acquire, we have to get our hands on all these things. It's like when those people that they get the free shopping spree, you get $500, buy anything you want in the store. That's not the way life works. It's not like we need to go out there and get our hands on all this. It's already ours. But because we've forgotten that, we don't believe it. We've fallen into the mesmerism of the world that is constantly putting before us tantalizing, exciting experiences and things that we feel like will make us more complete. Probably the epitome of this is love. You know, this idea when we come into the world that we have to find a certain someone that can be the vessel through which love comes more fully and richly into our lives. Gita, but to fall into conditioning is a choice too, right? Yes, it is. Thank you, Gita. It is a choice, but it's a choice that many of us don't make consciously. We simply arrive, we are immersed in the conditioning process that says to us we are without, and that in order to be with or to recognize all that we are, we have to go out and get it. We have to find it, discover it. Meditation, you see, the beauty of meditation, of prayer, whatever title you choose to give it, is that it's the inner journey, and it's then the awakening to that which is already ours by divine birthright. Now we're not in this world to get our hands on anything. We're really just here to shine brightly the light of the reality that we've discovered ourselves to be. So now I realize I don't have to get my prosperity or my health or my love from somebody or something outside of me, because I'm a veritable wellspring. I'm a fountain of all of these qualities already. So my mission here is to discover that, to hold it in my conscious awareness that I already have everything I need, and then to joyously move through our lives, extending that to others. Gita, thanks, Gita. I appreciate your participation and your presence here tonight so much. I was just thinking that it's all about inner reflection, inner connection. It really is, my friends, because once we really believe what Butterworth is telling us here, that the kingdom of God, what Jesus told us, actually, the kingdom of God is within us. The kingdom of God being a conscious, perpetual awareness of God's presence in everybody and everything, including ourselves. Now life is no longer an active competition to try to get our arms around more than anybody else and somehow win the great grand prize. It's not the objective. The objective is to realize it's already within us. So what we're talking about here really is learning to live unconditionally. In other words, circumstances, activities, relationships outside of us, they're all accompanied by conditions. And if those conditions are right, or if they're met appropriately, all is well. If they're not, we're in trouble, because we really believe that our well-being depends on the actions of other people and the events that are taking place in our life. He goes on, then Butterworth does. This is all being born out of the same, we've discussed this many times in Shelf Discovery and on Sundays at Unity. This world is my consciousness projected outward, if you choose to accept that. My consciousness projected outward. And my consciousness, when fully realized, when fully discovered, is very, very rich indeed. It's only my lack of believing that seems to bring about the trouble and turmoil we experience in our lives. Let's go on to see what he says here about living life from within out. It's probably true that most people attempt to live their life from the outside in. Life for them is almost totally determined by what happens around them or to them. Ask them, "How are you?" And they are reluctant to answer until they consult the news of the day, check on the Dow Jones averages, get the weather report, or appraise the mood of their family or their office associates. Their life is almost totally outer directed, and they are caught up in the dilemma of whether to conform to the world outside or spend their life resisting it. That again is the fruits of believing that we are required to find our sense of completion and wholeness from outside of us. He says the great truth taught by the mystics of all ages is life is lived from within out. This means that the whole universe is concentrated at the point where you are. Right now, just take that in for a moment. The whole universe is concentrated at the point where you are. More than this, you are the universe expressing as you. You are its living enterprise. It forever stands behind you with its full resources. However, the fullness of this universal support comes through you and not just to you. The most profound knowledge you can attain is that your whole existence flows forth from a universal process, which is always designed from within to without. How widespread and deep-seated is the belief that we are forever in competition with people and in conflict with the world around us. Our fears, resentment, anger, and even grief come because we feel that the instability of life in this world is a threat to our existence in it. Jesus gave the answer. The kingdom of God is within you. This is an absolutely amazing concept. Fortunately, few have grasped its implications, looking upon it as a deferred payment into the begging bowl. An absolutely amazing concept. The kingdom of God is within you. This is why, again, meditation and its many rewards is such a valuable tool. Because when you commit to a practice of meditation, what you're committing to is the giving of as much energy, time, and attention toward your inner reality rather than your external experience. And if we can find ourselves through the practice of meditation, realizing this vast inner kingdom, this vast inner reservoir, then we give up the search. We give up the search to try to complete ourselves through the projections that surround us in everyday existence. And instead, we start recognizing our wholeness, recognizing our divinity. And when you make that recognition, it's just inevitable that you're going to start radiating it because it's natural. Thanks, Dale. I'm thinking of the people in the Ukraine at this moment of epic humanitarian turmoil. Yes, it's hard for me to reconcile with the inner journey concept. Although, as a Unity student, I do personally and fully embrace it. After all, it's how I'm getting through my personal grief regarding the loss, thank you, in quotes, unquotes, of Snug. But as the people of Ukraine and similar situations, I do have a difficulty. Cindy says, yes, I agree, but we have to value all those around us who are helping us find our path and the journey within us. Absolutely, it's all valuable. And with regard to your comment, Dale, what I believe is that when the discovery is made of the riches of the kingdom that are within us, and we open that valve through which they can move out powerfully into the world, we're being, as Jesus instructed, the light of the world. And there is no greater sense of comfort and peace and solace and confidence and faith than being in the presence of one who is exuding that, who is moving it out. Right now, to me, that is the greatest call. There are so many ways that we can help our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. And I know many of us are pursuing those. It really is, however, the greatest contribution we can make, not only to those individuals, but to all of life, to abandon this idea that we come with nothing and we're dependent on external circumstances. It sort of reminds me of the work of Viktor Frankl when he was a victim of the Holocaust. And somehow he found within himself elements of this kingdom that allowed him to move through that experience, not only in a way that was more beneficial for him, but for countless of other individuals that have read his works or that witnessed the testimony of his own life. All of these troubles and turmoils of the world outside of us are invitations for us, I believe, to move more deeply into the inner spaces of our being, wherein we always find the infinite benefit of our divine faculties and bring them out into the world. One of those, by the way, is peace. And since this is March Meditation Madness Month, I'm going to share with you right now your mantra word, one of many that you'll be able to receive through the month of March from Unity on the Bay. Add this to your collection. Tonight's mantra word is peaceful. 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 And it is possible, once we recognize that the true source of peace is within us, to begin to bring that peace into the world, which dispels so many of the challenges, the wars, the insanity that we see. Dale, it is certainly true that I have heard countless Ukrainians speaking of their faith, relying on their inner strength to make whatever outward literal journey might be necessary. Thank you, Dale. It's also, to me, inspiring to see what this horrific invasion is calling forth from individuals who perhaps have discovered some of their own inner gifts and their inner kingdom, to come together in support, to say to themselves and to the world, this is not the world, and this is not the way in which we live. If you look at it, most wars are caused by individuals or governments who feel that someone else has something that they need in order to make them complete. So the whole world of troubles and trials and turmoil is born out of this sense that we've got to get our hands on something, that we need more, that we need to acquire more, that we need, and whatever it takes to do that, whether it's an illegal invasion or whatever it might be. If you're in that mindset of living without, you're gonna do whatever it takes to try to get what you think you need from this world. Gita, we need to trust in the ultimate power, in that knowingness that it is serving a need, even when we cannot see or know why that need is there. We are limited. The infinite power is unlimited in this knowingness. Yes. Thank you, Gita. And that's, if I don't know, I think I've been on the planet long enough to realize that the insanity in terms of the way individuals treat other individuals is not the kind of playing field that I want to engage in. And I think when we begin one by one, and this is the key, we sing it every Sunday morning, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. We could just as easily use the word, let there be abundance, let there be comfort, let there be love, let there be light, let there be whatever it is that we are seeking to, again, first recognize it's within us, and then we become the agents one by one. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me right now in this moment. Where in my own life am I holding things in my own consciousness that are projecting out into the world in ways that in any way could contribute to violence or hatred or attack? And I don't know about all of you, but I have more attack thoughts in my mind when I move through a day than I would like to admit. And one of the practices I'm really seeking to become more engaged in is to realize when my mind goes down that rabbit hole of despair and anger and hostility and resentment and stop it in its tracks, because that is the kind of projection into the world that is not helping anybody. And in a way, we all contribute to peace, or we all contribute to conflict, depending on where the majority of our own headspace is invested. Gita, yes, let it peace begin in me, and know that there's a ripple effect into the consciousness. Absolutely. We're all pouring one thing or another into the collective consciousness of humanity. And we could not be in the predicament we're in if there were not a sufficient number of individuals pouring, I'll say, for lack of a better word, wrong-minded thoughts, ideas that are not in alignment with the divinity that we are. That's why this internal discovery is so important. I believe Jesus made this discovery, and many of the great seers and sages of our time have made this discovery. Then they can get about the business of pouring something peaceful into the collective consciousness. Nancy, thank you, Nancy. With becoming even more involved with unity, my inner vibration is higher thanks to all of you lovely people. Well, that's what we're here for, Nancy. That's why I often say we don't need to go to church to appease any sense of guilt or to make sure that we're favored in God's eyes, because of course we already are. But we do need to come together in spiritual community so that we can support each other in discovering a higher vibration for all of us to put out into the world. I'm going to close tonight, and don't forget your mantra word now. Everybody know what it was? Peaceful. Take that with you, especially in these trying times with the world as it is. I want to close tonight by sharing some words that Eric shares in The Flow of Life, but they're not his. They're from Robert Browning. And they really became sort of a pillar in Eric Butterworth's teaching over many years. And I hope they offer that to you as we close tonight. Robert Browning. Truth is within ourselves. It takes no rise from outward things, whate'er you may believe. There is an inmost center in us all, where truth abides in fullness, and around, wall upon wall, the gross flesh hems it in, this perfect, clear perception, which is truth. A baffling and perverting carnal mesh binds it and makes all error, and to know rather consists in opening out a way whence the imprisoned splendor may escape, than an affecting entry for a light supposed to be without. Ina, thank you. Our emotions can shift so quickly. I just went from a big irritation to appreciation of a kind soul while driving, all while listening to your wisdom, Chris. Laugh out loud. Peace is the only best pursuit. It's true. And my experience in this world is that it will constantly try to distract me from the single most important objective that I can engage in. And that is to discover and to live from this powerful, as Jesus called it, kingdom of God. Joel Goldsmith calls it the pool, the quiet pool, the deep, quiet pool of contentment. And as we access that through our meditation and prayer practices, we become invulnerable, I believe, to these distractions in the world of time and space. It's my prayer for you tonight as we bring this evening to a close, that your imprisoned splendor may escape, blessing not only you right here tonight and every day of your life, but blessing the world, blessing our brothers and sisters in the Ukraine. The most valuable gift we can ever give is to discover who we are, who we truly are, and then allow that to move out with power, grace, beauty, and glory into this world. And as we do that, as we make that simple choice that Ina is referring to, where we move from irritation or conflict or anxiety to peace, we're making the greatest contribution we could make to benefit ourselves, all those we love, and every member of the human family. Have a wonderful night, my friends. Again, I so am grateful that you joined me here tonight. Have a blessed and peaceful evening. There's your mantra word again, peaceful evening. Much love to all of you, and we'll see you again next Monday night as we explore yet another topic. Next week, we're going to look at the work of Joel Goldsmith in his book, The Heart of Mysticism. We'll have another mantra word for you to collect, and we'll move from there. Have a beautiful evening, friends. Much love to all of you. God bless.